Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you heard someone say, just go for a walk? It's good for you. Probably dozens of times. And honestly, they're right. But here's what nobody ever tells you. And this is the part that actually changes everything. How you walk matters just as much as whether you walk. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years. And in that time, I've seen hundreds of patients who were doing everything they thought was right. They were walking every morning, being consistent, staying active. And yet they were still dealing with knee pain, back stiffness, fatigue, and in some cases their blood pressure wasn't budging the way we'd hoped. When we looked closer, the answer wasn't complicated. They had small, invisible habits that were quietly working against them. Today, I want to walk you through 7 of those mistakes, common ones that affect people over 50 more than anyone else. And more importantly, I want to show you exactly how to fix each one. Stick with me until the very end, because mistake number 7 is the one I see most often in my clinic, and it surprises almost every single patient when I bring it up. I want to share a quick story about a patient of mine. I'll call her Margaret. She was 62 years old, a retired school teacher, healthy weight, no major conditions. She came in one day frustrated because despite walking 45 minutes every morning for 6 months, her knees were getting worse, not better. She looked at me and said, "Doctor, I'm doing everything right. Why do I feel like I'm falling apart?" We talked through her entire routine. Turned out she was making 3 of the exact mistakes I'm about to share with you. Within 8 weeks of correcting them, her knee discomfort dropped dramatically, and her energy levels improved. Same walk, completely different results. That's what this video is about. Before we get into the mistakes, I want to take just a moment to talk about why this conversation is especially important once you cross the age of 50. Between your 50s and your 70s, your body goes through some natural and inevitable changes. Muscle mass begins to decrease, a process called sarcopenia, at a rate of roughly 1 to 2% per year if you're not actively working against it. Joint cartilage becomes thinner and less resilient. Your resting metabolism slows, and blood circulation, especially to your legs and extremities, can become less efficient. Now, none of that is meant to alarm you. These are normal parts of aging. But here's the beautiful truth. Regular physical activity, and walking specifically, is one of the most powerful ways to slow down every single one of those processes. When you walk consistently, your heart becomes more efficient at pumping blood. Your leg muscles, which act like secondary pumps for your circulatory system, stay active and strong. Your joints maintain their range of motion. And something remarkable happens in your brain. Blood flow increases to the hippocampus, which is the area responsible for memory and learning. Multiple large-scale studies, including data from the Harvard School of Public Health, have confirmed that people who walk regularly, even just 20 to 30 minutes most days, have measurably lower rates of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, depression, and cognitive decline. But, and this is the part I need you to pay attention to, walking only delivers those benefits when it's done with a minimum level of awareness. And most people, completely unintentionally, are missing that. Let's talk about where things go wrong. The first mistake is one of the most common, and I promise it's simpler to fix than you think. Most people walk out their front door and immediately launch into their full pace, no warm-up, just straight into full speed. Here's the problem. In the morning especially, your muscles have been still for 6 to 8 hours. Your joint fluid, a substance called synovial fluid that acts as a natural lubricant inside your knees, hips, and ankles, hasn't fully distributed through the joint yet. Your cardiovascular system is still in a lower gear. When you jump straight into a fast pace, You're asking a cold engine to immediately run hot. Over time, this habit increases the wear on your joint cartilage and raises the risk of small muscular strains that accumulate quietly and become chronic pain. The fix is simple. Spend the first 3 to 5 minutes of every walk at a noticeably slower pace. Think of it as a conversation with your body. You're letting it know that movement is coming and giving it a chance to respond. Then, gradually pick up your pace. Your joints will thank you, and you'll actually feel more energized by mid-walk, rather than winded and stiff. And here's a small thing I tell every patient who starts walking for the first time in years. Don't judge your walk by the first 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes almost always feel hard. That's normal. Push through them gently, and the body almost always finds its rhythm. The second mistake is something that doesn't get nearly enough attention, and that's your posture while walking. Before you think, that sounds like something your grandmother would say, hear me out, because this one has real physiological consequences. When most people walk, especially when they're tired or distracted, they tend to round their shoulders forward, drop their chin toward their chest, and let their gaze fall toward the ground just ahead of their feet. It feels natural. It even feels comfortable in the moment. But it isn't good for you. When your head moves even 2 to 3 inches forward of your spine, the effective weight your neck muscles must support can increase from roughly 12 pounds to nearly 40 pounds. That's not an exaggeration. That's a biomechanical reality that has been measured and documented. Over the course of a 30-minute walk repeated daily, that adds up to enormous cumulative strain on your cervical spine and the muscles of your upper back and shoulders. There's also a breathing consequence that most people never connect to their posture. When your chest collapses forward, your diaphragm is compressed, and that means you're taking shallower breaths without even realizing it. Less oxygen during your walk means less energy and less cardiovascular benefit. The correction is easy to learn, and even easier once it becomes habit. Stand tall. Draw your shoulder blades back and slightly downward. Not tightly, just gently. Keep your chin parallel to the ground and let your eyes look naturally forward. Breathe deeply and let it feel expansive. A mental image I give my patients that works surprisingly well is to imagine a single string attached to the crown of your head, gently pulling you upward. That image alone can transform someone's posture in a matter of seconds. Try it right now, wherever you're sitting. You probably just sat up straighter. The third mistake is one that costs people dearly without them realizing it, and it comes down to their shoes. I cannot overstate how important proper footwear becomes after 50. As we age, the fat padding on the soles of our feet gradually thins. The arches can flatten slightly, and the impact forces from each step, which travel up through the foot, ankle, knee, hip, and into the lower back, need to be absorbed somewhere. If your shoes don't provide that absorption, your joints absorb it instead, thousands of times per walk, day after day. I regularly see patients come in wearing shoes that are 3 or 4 years old, completely worn down on the heel and lateral edge. They wouldn't drive on a tire with no tread left, but they're walking miles every day on shoes with no structural support remaining. A good walking shoe needs 3 things: genuine cushioning in the heel and forefoot that doesn't compress completely under your body weight, arch support that matches your individual foot type, and a flexible sole that bends naturally at the ball of the foot, which is where your foot naturally bends as you push off with each step. I recommend replacing walking shoes every 300 to 500 miles, or roughly every 6 to 12 months if you walk daily. It seems like a cost. But compare that to the cost in pain, in treatment, in lost mobility, of preventable knee or hip problems a few years from now. It's one of the most practical investments you can make in your long-term health. The fourth mistake surprises people when I bring it up, but it's a really important one. I often have patients who tell me proudly that they went for a really long walk on Saturday, maybe an hour or more, and when I ask about the rest of the week, they say, well, I didn't get out the other days, but that long one should count for something, right? I understand the logic completely, but unfortunately, the body doesn't work that way. Physical activity benefits are not like a bank account where you make one big deposit and live off it all week. Your cardiovascular system, your metabolism, your blood sugar regulation, these systems respond to frequency and consistency far more than they respond to a single large dose. Think of it this way. If you water a plant once a week with an enormous amount of water and let it completely dry out in between, it struggles. The same plant, watered with a moderate amount every day or two, thrives. Your body's response to exercise follows the same pattern. The current evidence supports walking for at least 20 to 30 minutes on 5 or more days per week as the threshold where cardiovascular and metabolic benefits become consistent and measurable. If you're not there yet, don't worry. The goal isn't perfection, it's building consistency one day at a time. Even 3 days a week is dramatically better than one. Start where you are. Just start consistently. The fifth mistake might feel a little strange to think about, but pay attention to your arms the next time you walk. Many people let them hang completely motionless at their sides, or fold them across their chest, or tuck them into pockets. Here's why that matters. Human walking is actually designed to be a full body movement. When your right leg swings forward, your left arm is supposed to swing forward simultaneously to counterbalance it. This cross-body rhythm is neurologically coordinated, and it serves several important physical functions. It engages your core muscles, your abdominals, your obliques, and your lower back in a subtle but continuous way throughout the entire walk. It increases the total number of muscles involved in the activity, which naturally raises your heart rate slightly and increases the metabolic benefit. And it improves your balance and stability, which becomes more and more important after 50 as the statistical risk of falls begins to rise. You don't need to pump your arms dramatically. Simply allow them to swing naturally with a gentle bend at the elbow. Let the movement feel rhythmic and loose. If it feels awkward at first, that's completely normal. For many people, it's a habit they have to consciously rebuild after years of walking with their arms still. Within a week, it becomes second nature. The sixth mistake is one that genuinely didn't exist a generation ago, and that's walking while distracted by your phone. Now, I know you may have heard this before, but I want to explain why it matters medically, not just from a general safety standpoint. When you walk while scrolling through your phone, two things happen simultaneously. The first is mechanical. Your neck drops forward, recreating that forward head posture we discussed in mistake 2. Your shoulders round inward, your stride shortens and becomes irregular. Your entire gait pattern changes in ways that increase joint loading and reduce the efficiency of your movement. The second thing is neurological. Walking has a documented cognitive benefit that I think is genuinely remarkable. It literally increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex and stimulates the release of a compound called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which supports the growth and maintenance of neural connections. But that benefit is partially dependent on a mild state of relaxed environmental awareness. When you're locked onto a phone screen, that mental benefit is significantly blunted. And of course, there's the safety concern. Tripping, missing a curb, stepping unevenly on a route or an uneven surface. These things happen in a fraction of a second, and the reaction time required to catch yourself simply isn't there when your attention is divided. Keep the phone in your pocket. If you enjoy listening to something while you walk, music or a podcast, that's perfectly fine. But keep your eyes up and your awareness present. Your walk will feel different in a good way. And now, we've reached mistake number 7, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, the one that surprises nearly every patient I bring it up with in the office. Most people think of walking as a recovery activity, something so gentle that it doesn't require any recovery itself. And compared to running or weightlifting, yes, walking is low impact. But low impact doesn't mean no impact. After a 30 or 45-minute walk, your muscles have done real work. Your connective tissue has been loaded and unloaded hundreds of times with each stride. And your body is ready to begin a repair and adaptation process if you give it the conditions it needs to do that. The first and most overlooked condition is hydration. I see this constantly in my practice. Many people walk in the morning and don't drink water before or after. Dehydrated muscles recover more slowly, feel stiffer throughout the day, and are more prone to cramping. Drink a glass of water before you head out and another glass when you return. That alone will change how you feel the next morning. The second condition is post-walk stretching. Just 5 minutes of gentle stretching, targeting the calves, hamstrings, hip flexors, and lower back, can significantly reduce the morning stiffness that many people over 50 experience. This is particularly important after this age because connective tissue has less natural elasticity than it did in your 30s. And the third condition is giving yourself genuine permission to rest. 1 or 2 rest days per week are not laziness. They are physiology. Your body does not adapt during exercise. It adapts between exercise sessions, during rest, during sleep, during recovery. Without adequate rest, your body stays in a constant low-grade state of inflammation and fatigue, which over time leads to exactly the kind of persistent joint aches and energy drain that eventually push people to stop walking altogether. So, rest is not the opposite of a healthy walking routine. It is a fundamental part of one. Let's bring this all together, because I want to make sure you leave here with something you can actually use. 7 mistakes, each one small on its own. But combined, they can quietly drain almost every benefit walking is supposed to give you. Starting too fast, poor posture, the wrong shoes, not being consistent enough, keeping your arms still, walking while distracted, and neglecting recovery. None of these require a gym membership, special equipment, or any dramatic lifestyle change. Every single fix I've shared today is something you can start applying tomorrow morning on your very next walk. And I want to come back to Margaret one more time. When she returned to my office 8 weeks after we corrected her habits, she didn't just report less knee pain. She said, "Doctor, I actually look forward to my walk now. It's the best part of my day. That's what correct walking does. It stops being a chore and starts giving back to you in ways you can feel every single day. Here's what I want you to do right now. Go back through what you've just heard. Pick the 1 or 2 mistakes that sound most like something you recognize in yourself, and focus on just those for the next 2 weeks. Don't try to fix everything at once. The research on behavior change is very clear that targeting 1 or 2 specific habits at a time leads to far better long-term results than trying to overhaul everything simultaneously. Walking is not complicated, but it is a skill. And like every skill, it rewards the person who brings a little bit of intentional awareness to how they're doing it. I'd love to know which of these 7 mistakes you think you might be making. Drop it in the comments below. I genuinely read them, and the responses there often shape what I decide to cover next. If this helped you today, please hit the like button. It takes 1 second, and it helps this content reach more people who could benefit from it. And subscribe if you haven't already, because every week I put out videos exactly like this one, grounded in real clinical experience, explained in plain language, focused entirely on practical things you can actually apply to your life. Coming up next, we're going to talk about something that genuinely surprises most of my patients when I bring it up in the office. What actually happens inside your body when you eat eggs regularly after 50? You've probably heard conflicting things about this topic. We're going to clear it up completely, with the most current evidence, in a way that just makes sense. Your health is not built in a hospital. It's built in the small decisions you make every single day. And the fact that you're here watching this tells me you're already making the right ones. I'll see you in the next video.